Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Gospel with Ishmael. Yes, welcome to another episode. And in today's episode, I want to talk about speaking in tongues. In fact, mainly, I wanted to share on how I was able to learn to hear the voice of God. I remember I would used to ask some men of God who would come around, preaching the word and all of like, how are you able to hear or to know that God is saying is the one who's telling you this? Then they wouldn't be able to explain to me how they are able to tell on how God is speaking. So it's something which no one was able to explain. But then finally, I remember I once made a video on how I grew spiritually. You can check it in this channel. But then during my growth, the time when I studied the whole Bible, the time when I committed into prayer, this is how I did it. So this is how I was speaking in tongues and how you can grow to hear from God. First of all, let me just start it off. It's like I'm telling the story while I'm also telling you what can help you. I don't know if it can apply to everyone, but I believe it can to everyone. I believe with this you will grow. There is no any other way. You will grow. So as speaking in tongues, sometimes you don't, most likely you don't know what you're saying. But after I trained myself to pray, because I never used to pray. Remember, I was growing spiritually. Like I said before, I started with 5 minutes, and then I would make it a point in the morning, I pray for 5 minutes. Afternoon for 5 minutes. In the evening or in the night before I sleep, I pray for 5 minutes. Until I got used to 5 minutes, I extended to 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, and 10 minutes in the evening or during the night, to 15 up until 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes afternoon, and another 30 minutes late. So, and those minutes I will be praying in tongues, especially when you're using words, you run out of things to say. So I will be praying in tongues without knowing what. I was just believing in faith that they say praying in tongues to speak mysteries, only language that only God can understand, and all those things. So I was doing that out of faith, as like a habit, some sort of as some sort of a religious act, and that religious act worked in my favor, I must say. I used to do that. I remember when I was in the university, I used to do that morning, afternoon. I would make it a point. I became used to it, being consistent. No matter what, how busy I get, when I come from class, I pray 30 minutes. And I would be fasting every week, like maybe twice. I just forgot how I would schedule my time, but every week I would make sure that at this day I fast in this manner. So I was so devoted to an extent where there came a time in which, as I was praying like that, it went on. Which year was it when I started to hear the voice of? I think it was about a year after, or almost a year after. That is when I could tell that now I think I can hear when God is speaking, or I can be prophetic. So I remember one time where I used to pray like that, I was not focusing that God speak, now can I hear? No, I was just doing it out of honoring the Lord, out of something which I felt. I just enjoyed it, It became my habit. I was not having so much expectations. I just believed that God is gonna grow me spiritually. I just in simple terms, I had a hunger for the Lord. That's how it was. I had huge hunger for God. And then as I was praying like that, I remember the first time when I knew that God now finally is speaking to me. It was after, I remember there were these ladies who used to be friends, but there came a time which they were no longer talking to one another. So I remember during that time, was I praying? I can't recall well, but it dawned to me that these people are going to start speaking again. It just came to me as some sort of a thought, But to me, I felt it a bit heavy. And then I remember there was this friend of mine, and I wanted to tell him that, you see these girls that you say that they're no longer talking to one another. I think they're gonna talk. So I didn't tell him though. Then before I knew it, he told me that, this girl and that girl, now they are talking together. Now they are talking, they are friends again. And that's when it came back to me that, I should have told him. And it came to me. And then from there, I think that it rang to me that I was being told by the Spirit of the Lord, or by God, So that's when I started to pay attention. I took note. So from there, I just can't recall my second encounter, but from there, I could tell when something's about to happen. I knew, I could tell, I could feel it in the spirit and knew that now it's the Lord who's telling me this. It's not I, it's not in my own mind, but the Lord is revealing this unto me. So that's how I actually began to learn how God speaks. To an extent, I remember even when there was a year in which somebody wanted an acceptance when she was registering. Then she was not getting accepted until it dawned to me. It came to me as we were praying at this other service, and that I must tell it that by this time tomorrow she will be accepted. But I was scared that I'm going to miss this prophecy. I'm gonna miss it. But then I went on and I just said it as in some sort of like in general. But she accepted it because she felt that it was relating to a situation, and she confronted me at the end of the service, and she was like, so you say God says tomorrow I'll be accepted? Then I knew that I was backed into a corner, and I was like, oh yes. And she was like, what if it doesn't happen? Then I was like, no, the thing is like, what I know is like, if it doesn't happen, it will show that God is a liar. But what I know is that God never lies. That's what I told her, or that's what I said to her. So at the exact same time, at the exact time the following day, it happened as I said it, and I got a text message from my cousin, was like, oh, Ishmael, it happened, like she got accepted. And when I checked the time, it was like around that time exactly. So those are the times in which the prophetic was active in me. But I just felt like, even to this very day, I've never really exercised my prophetic gift so much. Maybe because I've been someone who I never wanted to show off. I never wanted to do it just because I wanted to show that I can demonstrate power and all. So I wouldn't try to wanna go and force it. Most of the time when I would say a prophetic word is when I felt that they push, just like that lady's situation where I didn't want to say it, but I can tell that Lord is talking to me. He's saying, say it, when he's pushing me. So, but then I got to learn that in some situations, even when I want God to talk or I want to listen to him, I'm able to pick up the prophetic. I'm able to go there and ask the Lord to inquire in the spirit, and sometimes I will realize even when I'm writing exams, even when I will be studying, sometimes I will get angry that there's so much things to study. What can I study? What is gonna come into the exam? I will ask in the spirit, and immediately I will start to get the revelation that study this. I will just point as almost like if someone is telling me, as if like I'm the one who. It's like I will just know that this question is gonna come. It's a must. This must, and I will even tell people who I'll be helping with the academics on how to locate that. Make sure you study this. Make sure this chapter you don't forget it. Make sure, and it will happen as such. So those are some of the instances, but it all came when I grew a prayer habit. I can't say that necessarily it was because I spoke in tongues, but it's because I had a prayer habit. So pray as you want, but give yourself a prayer habit. Also, in case to some of you feel like, what if you do it or you've been doing it, it never worked out. One of the things that I did was to make sure I commit my life into the Lord in terms of trying to live a holy life as best as I possibly could. Not living in a sinful way. I made it a point that I keep myself as best as I could before the Lord. Although even if I would have some imperfections, as we know, no one is perfect, but I tried by all possible means. So I don't know what worked. It could have been the prayer together with that, or it could have been the prayer alone, but that I'm saying, in case it doesn't work, check yourself properly. Make sure you are committed. But you might be surprised and it still works just because you are praying, but so that you don't miss out on anything, okay? And yes, that's how you grow into learning to hear the voice of the Lord. And that's all I had for you in today's video here in the Gospel with Ishmael. And that's for me. I will see you in the next episode. Take care and stay blessed.